Hi everyone, welcome to Bombshells and Cocktails. Today I am doing a bit of a hair experiment. I am going to be testing out 3 different ways of getting curl into your hair using heated implements. 3 obviously different heated implements. Ignore my crazy hair going on here, this is just me sectioning it out. So I'm probably going to end up with quite bizarre hair, but hopefully it'll all be curly. But I've actually sectioned my hair off into 3. And I'm going to be using a conical wand, a curling iron and heated rollers. And it's really just a bit of an experiment for me to see how it goes, and I just thought I would film it in case anyone else finds this useful, or they just kind of want to know the kind of curl that you're likely to get if you, say, haven't got a conical wand and want to see what that looks like, or hot rollers before you go out and buy some. So I really do hope this is helpful. And I hope my hair doesn't look too crazy in the end. So let's see how it goes. I'll also talk through a little bit about the best ways that I like to hard set my hair when I'm using heated implements as well. So hopefully it'll be a bit useful too. So I have sectioned my hair off into 3. I've just kind of done a mohawk down the middle. So I'm going to be using the curling wand, the curling iron and the hot rollers here. So I'm going to start off with the curling ones. For any kind of hot sets that you do for vintage styles, especially, I would say for any styles, but especially for vintage styles, you really should invest in some of these, which are curl clips. Now these are single curl clips, but you can also get the double pronged ones. It really doesn't matter, the double pronged ones are easier to find. These will be your best friend because what you want to do is clip the curl in place whilst it's cooling down. If you let it go, then all the air's going to go out of it, all the heat's going to go out of it, and your curl is going to go with it, especially if you've got slightly thicker hair like me. So you are going to need some of these. If you don't have any of these handy, you can actually just use Kirby Grips bobby pins and clip them in, but you can be prone to a bit of denting if you use a grip. So the way that I use a heated implement is be organised. That's number 1. Make sure you have everything ready, which I never do. Anyway, there's my comb. I actually like to section my hair as I go. If you're doing a free or looser style, then this doesn't matter, but I have got vintage styles in mind for when I'm doing this. And this experimentation is only going to work if I copy the kind of setting pattern I'm going to use for a vintage style. So I would make sure that you use a heat protectant spray, whatever spray you use. Mine's an ion one, that's the one I'm just using at the moment. Make sure you're using that all the way through, especially your ends. This is going to mean that your hair won't frazzle. It's also going to mean that your curl will stay in that little bit longer, I find. Just so you know, I haven't got anything else on my hair, so I washed it this morning. It's just dried, there's a little bit of product in it, but nothing really to give it any extra hold. So, take a section, about, I would say that's almost about an inch section, a little bit less than an inch, and you'll probably get 2 or 3 curls out of it. So, start from the back and work your way forward. You don't want to take anything too big because then it won't curl well. Obviously if you've got finer hair you can afford to take bigger sections. For those of us girls with slightly thicker hair, take smaller sections. Unfortunately that means we have to curl for longer. So, conical wand. You're just wrapping your hair around, trying to maintain it as flat as possible. Oops. So you don't want to be twisting your hair as you're wrapping it round. You want to try and keep it flat, almost as if your hair is like a ribbon. So you don't want to twist it as you go round. And try and get it as close to your scalp as possible. Obviously you don't want to burn yourself. Keep it on for a few seconds. And then simply slide out. So you can already see there's a curl formed. If you can keep the curl intact, like so, oh sorry, then even better. Twist it around and pop it upright, just like that. So you should be able to see through it, like that. And you just carry on the rest of that bit that you've sectioned off there. What I'm going to do is do this bit and then get back to the next bit. Okay, so that is 1/3 of my head done with the conical wand. I've hard set everything and I've just put a bit of hairspray on. So next we're going to move on to the other side, and I'm going to be using curling iron for this. I've had this curling iron for years. If I'm honest, it takes absolutely ages to heat up, but it's not bad, and I think I probably paid about £10 for it at the time, but it's still a Babyliss one. It still does the job, so price isn't always everything. It's pretty much the same thing that you're going to be doing with the curling iron as you do with the conical wands in terms of sectioning your hair and taking each piece at a time and clipping it down. So section off your hair like so. Be organised, get a clip ready, and start from the back and work your way forwards like you did before. If you have layers in your hair, then what's going to happen is if you try and get it from the end, all your layers are going to start falling through. So the way to deal with that is open up your barrel, and just do a little bit like you would do with the conical wands, just for the very ends. Oops. Sorry. And that's just to grab your ends. And then that's everything together, ready for you to roll up. Now when you roll, what I would suggest is don't roll on itself. Try and roll up the barrel. So as you can see there, I've rolled up the barrel. Now I usually put my fingers over the top. Be very careful with this. Really, really, please be careful. I've been doing this for years. And when I feel that it's hot, I will just hold on to the end, pull that through, and then if I'm doing it well, I can gather the whole thing together. If it falls apart like it just did on me, what you can do is just take it and curl it back. Get your clip and pin it on. So, very simple method, quite effective. Just make sure that you pin it up. I'll do the rest of this and I'll be back in a sec. Okay, so that's all that side pinned up, and I'll pop a bit of spray on it just to help it set. Now the middle section, which I'm going to use hot rollers for. So I would take this section up here and just square it off slightly, just so you've got a nice even piece that you're working with. There we go. Because what you're going to be doing is actually working from the back front, but rolling backwards. You'll see what I mean. So pop a bit of spray on the ends especially, give it a little brush through. Make sure your heated rollers are obviously ready to be put in, so mine have been heating up for a little while. And I would suggest in this section of hair, if you've got hair of similar thickness to mine, you want to be putting 3 small hot rollers. If you have finer hair, I would just say you'd probably need the 2. The more rollers that you can put in, the more curl and hold you're going to get. So with hot rollers, what I would suggest for the crown of your head especially is to actually roll in this direction. So you're almost rolling down and round to the very, very base of your head. And this way you're going to get maximum volume out the curl because it's standing up as much as possible. It's what's called rolling on base. So you pop your pin in and that's all set. Just to compare, if you were rolling on a different angle, if say you were rolling back here, the curl is going to sit backwards. So it's going to be more relaxed at the base. By being clever about the way in which you use your rollers, you can get a really good amount of volume. So you want to make sure you get your ends in nice and tight and neat, and roll everything. I usually like to use the pin that was there before, kind of hook it in so they're all sitting in alignment before placing your next clip in, and then that will be super, super secure. So with this bit I've got uneven bits here because of the way my hair's cut, so I would just kind of start there, wind those little bits around, make sure you've got everything tucked in nicely. Sorry if I'm going a bit funny with my eyes, and just roll everything up, hook it into the one from before and pop its own pin in as well. So you're probably going to have that one sitting down on your face, but that's okay, that means it's all nice and secure. I'm going to carry on and do that for the rest of my hair. I will probably run out of small rollers, so I'll use medium-sized rollers once I've run out, and I'll see you in a sec. Okay, so that's my 3 different curls in. I'm going to let it cool down. Cooling down is a really important part of curling your hair, especially for vintage styles, because what it does is it allows everything to relax, all the heat to go out, and the setting part to really kick in. So especially with hot rollers, your hot rollers should be cool to the touch before you take them out. So that can be a good 20 minutes. Hot rollers shouldn't really be something that you do out of quickness. Do plan it into your day, obviously, the time it takes to heat them up, the time it takes to put them in, and the time it takes to take them down. You probably need, I would say, if you're going to do a whole head set of hot rollers, you need probably a good hour to do a decent job. So just bear that in mind with hot rollers. That's at least that's my opinion. Others of you may differ. You might find a quicker technique, but for the purposes that I use them for, I like to give them the time they deserve. So I'm going to go and just let all this cool down, and I'll be back and show you what it's like when they all come out, and we can start comparing the different curls and see what works best. Okay, so these are all now nice and cool. So I'm going to take down each side at a time and brush it through, and hopefully that will help to compare everything. So this side, oh, if you remember, was with the conical wand. The thing about the conical wand is that it should evenly distribute heat throughout the curl when you're actually curling it. So you should get a curl at the top of the hair rather than just down the bottom. So for vintage styles, if you think about pin curling, that's probably a good thing. So I would imagine that this curl here will probably be better than the curl achieved with just the normal curling iron. When you're brushing out any hot curls, or curls set by heated implements, you want to use a gentle brush. You don't want to really brush through it, but having said that, you have left it there for a fair bit, so it can take a little bit of bashing. I'm just going to be using like a blow dry brush because it's nice and curved and you can get curl out of it. So once you've taken everything down, just separate the curls out So you can kind of see there the sort of curl we've got. So although the conical wand is supposed to get curl at the top of the hair, it mainly starts around about here. So we've got a wave, you can see how that's sitting off my face there, but the curl doesn't really start until about the ear. So just going to gently brush through it and bring the curl together, because we want to create waves in vintage sets more than curls, or at least the kind of vintage sets I like. So just curve that under. I suppose my thoughts with the conical wands and my experience of the conical wand is that you do actually get a lot of bounce and curl out of it because of how you use it, and because you have to wrap the ends around the smaller end of the conical wand and physically hold them in place. Sometimes you do end up with straight ends, which obviously is not good for vintage styles. But as you can see, it definitely creates a curl. It will stand up to a bit of brushing. Again, with a conical wand, I find because it's a spiral rather than a curl that you're creating, the hair does tend to want to go off in whatever direction it's been spiraled. So I would prefer it to sort of sit a bit more. It doesn't take to shaping as well, I find. So you can see there, this one just wants to kind of do its own thing. So you can manipulate it and use product and place it where you want it to be placed, but you won't have as much control over something you do, I think, with a conical wand. But you can see there is a wave that has been created through using that. So that's that one. I'm going to take down this side, which we just used the curling iron on, and just kind of compare the two, because I think if you're going to be choosing one product over another, the one product over another is likely to be a curling iron versus a conical wand. So I think that this is going to be the most useful part. Try and be careful about how you take your clips out. As you can see, I'm making a bit of a hash of it today, but this is just an experiment. Right, so immediately the type of curl is different. It is very flat. Do you remember how that kind of it sat further out from my head? You can see immediately with the curling iron it doesn't. It sits quite flat to the head and all your curls are down the bottom. So that's the difference. So I imagine what this is going to do, and from my experience, is give a nice smoothness at the top and curve down the bottom. Which is exactly what we've got. So, big difference. I actually don't even need to manipulate this anymore because I know it's not really going to go anywhere. I could try and hold that in and spray that in so there's a wave there, but just on its own you're going to get a page boy look out of it for vintage sets. So this is all curled under. I'm using exactly the same technique to curl the hair, to brush the hair as I've used on this side, and as you can see, big difference one over the other. So much smoother effect here, much curlier. This is kind of smooth and controlled, I think. This is curly and uncontrolled and a bit wild. Even though I've kind of asked it nicely to sit in the right place, it's already kind of wanting to go in different directions. So I think this will probably end up frustrating me a bit. See, it doesn't want to go. So there we go, two very different sides using exactly the same methods of setting it and of brushing it out. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put a clip there and there just to keep all these bits separate. So I'm now going to take out the heated rollers. When you take out heated rollers, I find it best to try and twist it off. Sorry. Oh dear. It is Friday the 13th. Maybe that's what it is. I'm making a little bit of a bad video today, I think, but we'll blame it on Friday the 13th. I would say with heated rollers always work from the back down. Back down, back up. What is up today? Wow. Final one. Okay, so just show you these front bits. So again, the kind of curl that you get is different. As you can see, it wants to kind of sit there. There's a lot more curl in the base, I would say more than any of the other sides. So, just going to brush through it again, all curled under, and see what that does. Right, so you can see immediately that bounces up. There's an awful lot of curl going on there. I'll just take this side of the hair away completely so you can see what it's like down. So it really wants to bounce up. I reckon if I try and push this, it's going to wave for me as well. Not that kind of wave. Right. And you can really manipulate this. You can go up, you can go down. It feels a lot more resilient. Like I feel like I'm not brushing the curl and the curves out of this set. So do you see there, I just pushed that into place and it's quite happy to stay where I've pushed it. So you've got waves going on there. Now obviously the back of my hair can be quite hard to see, but I'll show you whatever the back looks like. There we go. I mean, I think that's just staying there. That's not moving. You've got a lot of movement at the top here, not very much movement at the top. The heated roller I feel I can control more. And this side, it's kind of just a bit all over the place. So, probably not helpful with the one in the middle, but I'm just trying to show you what you can achieve with the heated things. So, much more controlled, smoother, sleeker page boy curls going on if you use a curling iron. Much more out of control, harder to manipulate curls if you use a conical ones. And the heated rollers, I think, control more and give you more curl, and you can shape them better. So I really hope that that's been helpful. I'll just try and shape my hair into something that I can wear today. It's an experiment that I wanted to do for a while, and to be honest, I think I knew what the outcome would be in that, in how each of the implements were going to behave, just because I have used them before, but I think if I was trying to choose between the three things, I would have liked to have seen a video which showed me them compared against each other, so I really hope that that's been helpful. My favourite, as you can probably tell,